Welcome to another edition of the Schmidt Storm. You have questions, I have answers. Let's get started. The question is, why is George W. Bush abjectly silent about the threat to American democracy posed by the Republican nominee, Donald Trump? This is a great question. And as an alumni of the George W. Bush administration, it's a question that I have a very, very hard time with. This idea that George W. Bush is now a painter and retired from presidential politics, I don't accept. He is a former president of the United States. He is, when he took the oath, one of 42 people in American history who had ever taken it to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. We're not having a debate about tax policy. So George W. Bush's restraint to give his predecessor room to operate without the encumbrances of a former president in the news, making their difficult job more difficult, is basically the right thing to do. President Obama has followed this path largely as well. But when there are exigent circumstances, and there is now, because Donald Trump, the demagogue, is talking about people of color eating pets, and George W. Bush had a philosophy that he talked about when he shared his view that when you see the migrant coming across the desert, coming across the border, walking, facing death to survive for their family, for a better life, that we should have compassion for that person as one of God's children. Donald Trump is dehumanizing people. George W. Bush, his greatest achievement as president was the president's emergency plan for AIDS relief in Africa. It saved 100 million lives. It's an extraordinary human achievement, and all of it is risked by Donald Trump. Yet the former president, like Mitt Romney, has chosen indifference. MAGA plus indifference is Donald Trump's hand. He thinks it could be a winning hand. Let's pray not. The choice requires the picking of sides. Neutrality helps MAGA. So George W. Bush's silence is not neutrality. It's an indifference that amounts, like Romney's, to a soft endorsement of Trump, regardless of what the perception may be of their personal disdain for his disgustingness. Not speaking out right now, when the danger is clear and the danger is present, is absolutely picking sides. Silence puts the former president on the side of forces that he disdains. I don't know what you call that, other than I'm not sure that moral cowardice isn't the right word. Question is, do the Haitian immigrants filing a lawsuit against Trump and Vance in Springfield, Ohio, have a case? I have no idea. I do know this. Whether or not legally they have standing to sue in response to Trump's slander is besides the point. What Trump is doing, dehumanizing these people, putting a target on their heads and their backs, creating a situation where an Ohio town is under siege. State police have to be in the schools for them to remain open. The hospitals are closed because of bomb threats. This is not a question of can they sue? It's a question of basic human decency, morality. This is about a weapons-grade demagogue previewing the type of animosities and the danger that lies ahead for all of us. If Donald Trump will do that to Springfield for power's sake, he'll do it anywhere to anyone, including to you and your community, if it benefits him. That's the point. The lessons of history are perfectly clear. When somebody does and says what Donald Trump is saying and doing about these people, always disaster ensues. And it will in Springfield. This story will end tragically, 100%, because Donald Trump's rhetoric is going to trigger a moral outrage. The question is, what do I expect to be released from Jack Smith's court filings and the case? I have no expectations. My view is that these prosecutions have been a disaster, that they have helped Donald Trump. They continue to help Donald Trump. The cases have been incompetently prosecuted. They have been prosecuted before a corrupt judge. and they have undermined faith in the American legal system amongst all Americans, and that faithlessness only helps Donald Trump. Frankly, watching this played out over the last 4 years has only made me personally more cynical about the American justice system and helped me recognize how completely, utterly, absolutely broken it is. The second Kamala Harris is president-elect, somebody should call Merrick Garland into the Oval Office and tell him he's fired. He's one of the worst attorney generals in American history who didn't work for Donald Trump. What we have seen, what we have watched play out for 4 years of this madness is a great political gift to the fascist in chief in America. So I have no expectations, but I pray that we don't have another lawyer in this country, whether it be a Comey or a Smith, who does something as stupid as they did in 2016 through an act of narcissism and look-at-meism that was as grand as anything Trump ever did, that had the result of handing the election to him, interfering in the destiny of the country and in the choice of the American people in the most profound way imaginable. So in a perfect world, the two words I'd like not to hear for the next 39 days are Jack Smith at all, because it's always been a delusion that the justice system would settle the Trump matter for the American people. Only the American people can end this madness. And the Justice Department and the incompetence of this prosecution and the misconduct of the prosecutors like Fani Willis have done nothing but make it more likely Trump gets back into power. So my contempt for them is pretty deep. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.